Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching in the world. Sean Driver, the Red Horde, and this is the Who Are You series, where we take a look at the 23 teams around League One, give you the basics, the introductions, develop a backline into the kit story, the gaffer, the ownership, and those sorts of things, the history of the club, and then start to look at the players and who they are, the on-form, the statistics, and try to analyze exactly what we're looking for coming up to the game against Wrexham. Two other types of videos we do at the Red Horde, if you're interested: hors d'oeuvres, where we take a look at things that happen off the pitch and how they impact them on the pitch. That includes regulations, finance, and sort of the nitty-gritty of sports governance. And then also the watch-alongs. We're going to be there on Saturday for Huddersfield and BOlton, taking advantage of the fact that not all the games are in the 3 p.m. window, which I love to be able to actually see the other teams that are out there. So join us on Saturday for that one. Join us on Monday for this one. Hoping to have somebody pick up the game on Sunday, the women's match against Cardiff City. I can't. I'm going to be doing the Terry Fox run in Vancouver and trying to raise a little money for charity and not kill myself in the process. So if you're out there, you've been a part of the watch parties, you know who I am, message me. Tell me you want to pick up the game, and we'll do that one and pick up the Swansea one. Stay tuned for that. But the ultimate question for this one, without rattling too much on, is... Birmingham City, who are you? Let's get into it. This one has been circled on the calendar from outset. For Wrexham, a very tough starting six to start off League One, and handled exceptionally well. At the start of this process, I was thinking 8 points would be okay, and we've obviously surpassed that, sitting top of the table as it sits right now, having played one extra game, but really in good shape. Now we've got Birmingham City and the end of things, and as far as, you know, they've spent the most clearly building up into this in the offseason, the transfer window, and into this year, taking advantage of the fact that there's no S&P, sustainability and profitability rules, that will hurt them and impact them should they get their promotion up into the championship. They're clearly shooting for one of those automatic spots, and taking some time to gel. And so it's a fascinating time to take them on. We're hot. They're trying to figure everything out. They've clearly got some exceptional players, and so we're going to jump into that. And how do we get that all started? Well, the basics. Birmingham City, nicknamed the Blues, founded in 1875. That makes them the fourth oldest franchise in League One. A population of 1,157,603. There are other pony shows within Birmingham City. Aston Villa being there. Aston Villa, just based on their record within the Premier League. Birmingham sitting at 25th. Aston Villa much harder. You look at or higher than that. You look at the honors. Birmingham City has 2 EFL Cups, 62-63. 2010, 2011, four-time winner of the championship. But as far as comparing that to Aston Villa's history, who has 7 FA Cups, 5 EFL Cups, a UEFA Champions League, as well as the, what do they call it, the Super Cup, when they first introduced it, the Champions League winner against the Europa winner, and they figured that all out. So a much more storied history. If you're comparing those in North America, think Birmingham City as the Clippers to the LA Lakers, as the New York Mets compared to the New York Yankees, or the Chicago White Sox compared to the Chicago Cubs. Not a bad franchise by any stretch of the imagination. Still very capable in a long storied history, but not the leading show, I guess you could call it. Jumping into the rest of the programming, last year, the 22nd in the championship, man, they had a falling out. We won't get into all the details. They hired a manager. We know who he is. He struggled. What was it, 2 wins in 15, something like that, turfed him. Not enough to save it, and just a really bad season. For them, they get to reload and take advantage of things. No sustainability and profitability rules. We might get into that later. So they reloaded during the transfer window, and this is where they're at. Turnover, this is back for the 2022-2023 season, 19 million quid. Their current chairman has come out and said that they think they can double that in the next couple of years. That's going to have to involve more than just the attendance improving. They're also going to have to find some additional outside sponsorship and some international intrigue to get there. But they're there. Profit loss quite significant, minus 22.7 million back in 2022-2023. The social media numbers, and we'll jump into that in a little bit, 1,305,827 makes them the second biggest in League One when it comes to social media. The biggest? by a significant margin, Wrexham. I don't think that's a surprise. St. Andrews at Knighthead Park, beautiful, beautiful stadium. We'll show you that. As far as distance, the sixth furthest trip for those leaving Kairas to go and take this one in. The away allocation is typically 4,500 that I found on football away days. I don't think that's what was allocated on this one. We'll see how that goes. Capacity 29,409, and we're expecting a sellout. Last year in the championship, their percentage 72%. They actually had attendance in the 21,000 mark. That leaves them, as far as League One teams, that would put them first place this year. Opening year, the pitch dimensions. Again, getting into the fact that there are multiple ranges in sizes. What surprised me, new stadium, and what do? More seats, less stadium, less pitch area. 7,848, making it the 23rd largest, or the second smallest in League One. Let's go to the social media. I find this one interesting. It kind of gives you an idea. You can talk about bigger, and it's a big thing in the UK that I don't quite understand, and I still haven't. Everybody has a different definition. It usually goes by who's won more trophies, who spent more time in the Prem, who's got a longer history, how many FA Cups do you have, those sorts of competitive metrics. It could be finances and who's spending more money. Clearly in League One, that would make Birmingham City bigger. I would suggest that bigger should also take into account how many fans you've got worldwide, globally. And are you going to see Wrexham kit over in the United States, in Canada, in Europe, elsewhere, down in Australia? Are you more likely to see Wrexham kit? And surprisingly enough, as shocking as this would be, if you were to talk to people 5 years ago, it's Wrexham. And the Instagram followers, I've put those up there for you to take in. Peterborough, because we already had them, it shows they're sort of an average team in League One. Birmingham City, the second largest, and that gives you scale. And you can watch Wrexham slightly below Peterborough until the takeover happened, and then bam, we're up to 1.3, almost 1.4 million Instagram followers that are there taking it in. As far as Facebook followers, a little bit longer history with Facebook than Instagram, so Birmingham up there for quite significantly over Peterborough, but already passed and surpassed by Wrexham. The biggest one for me, the total followers, and this one is what gives me an interesting perspective as to where the clubs are going. Birmingham, certainly well financed, certainly well built, certainly has a long history, and you'd expect for them to be a team that is going to push into championship and would love to end up returning to the Premier League. That's the goal for them. And Wrexham has a similar goal. And obviously the infrastructure isn't there for Wrexham at the moment, working on it. The academy, not there, working on it. The COP being redeveloped, working on it. But as far as international following and dollars coming in, Wrexham's already expected to be up to 20 million quid, which is where Birmingham was a couple of years ago, and still growing. And I say still growing. The gray there shows what the numbers for total followers along the 5 major social medias systems that are out there. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And you can see you've got Birmingham, Peterborough, again, as an average sort of club. I think they're 13th overall with their followers. And then Wrexham. And you can see the gray and how far ahead Birmingham was. The following year, July 2023, you can still see a significant gain there for Birmingham. Obviously, for Wrexham, blew it out the doors right after the initial start of Welcome to Wrexham. And it's cooled off a little bit, but still, when you're adding 400, 500,000 people that are adding themselves to social media metrics, that's a substantive gain. Just to put it into perspective, they've gone from 3,645,000 up from 3,092,000. So where Birmingham is taking a 200,000, 150,000 gain in a year, Wrexham's jumping up 600,000 still, which gives hope, gives optimism, because those followers and impressions become information, become dollars as people invest in kit and toques and or bobbleheads, hats, or whatever they're called in the UK, bobble hats in the UK, and ticket sales being the only issue where Birmingham's ahead for now, and we'll see what happens with the COP. So that's the social media numbers. Want to jump into the window capture and give you an idea. This here just showing you the drive times, 80.6 miles, 72.3 if you go the short route, but the longer route's quicker. And so you're looking at about an hour and a half, hour and 44 minutes. The sixth shortest, obviously, we went through. There's a picture of St. Andrews at Knighthead Park, renamed for sponsorship purposes. But that is a gorgeous stadium. And Monday night, 8 p.m., I can only imagine the magic that's going to look like. Something exceptional there. As far as their kit, Sponsored by Undefeated. Nike's been their kit carrier for a number of years now. The blue and white is traditional. The white and black, I'm sure that's a thing. There's no real magic in it. And then they've got the goalkeeper kits and the pre-match stuff. No real third jersey, just the standard blue and white. So not that awe-inspiring, but they've got history and they've decided to go with it. I get that. So as far as their performance, we talked about that, and you can see the number of years that they've had in the Prem. The question is with Birmingham City, and they've got amazing new owners that are spending a lot of money. And it depends on, I guess, how you define owners. Owners that invest, who are looking at advancing the club forward, are always desirable. And in the UK, unlike elsewhere, a little bit of reckless spending may not be a bad thing. And some could consider, and some could say, is the spending reckless this year? Is it prudent spending to be able to ram that all through when there's no sustainability and profitability rules, and you can look to build from there? A bit of a gamble, and part of that fan-led football review that was done by the UK, some discussion that's the sort of stuff that was to be avoided. You're going to be on one of those two camps. You can have your opinion. I like to see a little bit more prudent spending, a little bit of reliance on getting the turnover up before you end up opening the piggyback and going into a bunch of debt. But there's no controls, really. And when I say no controls, no fundamental actual controls. It's sort of a farce. When it comes to profitability and sustainability, when you allow losses that big. Review says, there is Tom Wagner, who's now the chairperson, tried to figure out and do the details as to whether they're actually the major shareholders, and I don't believe that they are. I think that their company, Knighthead Capital, Shelby Companies Limited, being the subco, they did a recent acquisition back in May, and I think they have operational control, but I believe that they only have 45.3% of the shares or something along those lines. Still majority owned by Zoe Future, which is Paul Suin out of Hong Kong, who I think still has the 50%. That's what Wiki tells me. That's what the news sort of intimates, but I did read an article that he was looking to do more. Anyway, the fascinating thing about what Tom's brought in, looking for social media impressions, Knighthead, as I said, is the sponsorship. They're paying up to a maximum of $3 million per season based on social media impressions. So trying to encourage people to click around and get to know the club, to promote the team through the social media, and then subsequently hope and pay out through the contract. So an interesting way to go about it. I think it a little bit farcical because it's the owner who's paying. It's the owner's business who's paying into the club. I would love to have seen that with a truly arm's length third party, but it is a novel concept, and I'm a fan of that. I've got no criticisms of Tom. You got money, you can spend it on whatever you wish to spend it on. He's obviously chosen Birmingham, and the rules allow for that. So have your crack and do your thing. Whether it's right or wrong, that's for other people to criticize and look at. Their managed gaffer, Chris Davis, Welsh pronunciation versus English or North American pronunciation. Chris Davies, this is his first head coach gig. He's got a storied history. He retired from football at 19 from Reading. He was a Welsh youth soccer player. He ended up having arthritis in his foot, issues with his feet, and so when he retired at a young age, 19, he went into the UEFA coaching program. He got his certificates. He went down to Hawke's Bay and was a player coach for Hawke's Bay in New Zealand, and then ended up coming back up here, and he was at Liverpool before Klopp. He was then at Reading, Celtic, went to Leicester as an assistant, Tottenham as a senior assistant, and then landed here. And we're still really figuring out exactly what Mr. Davis is all about. I went through the history, two-time winner of the EFL Cup, as I said, four-time winner of the championship, and so that's who they are. Salary. This is Capology, and I don't know. Somebody else can give me their feedback. I don't think they're accurate. Their numbers are accurate. Heard that the transfer window was like in the range of 16 million to 20 million for Birmingham this year. As comparison, Wrexham considered to have been third, somewhere around the 1.4 million. So we're talking like massive numbers comparatively. And they brought in like 17 new players, or players that weren't in the starting 11 anyway. Capology, as I said, a little bit of, I think it's off by a lot. And somebody can tell me whether they think that it is or not. But as far as a comparison as to the salaries, it says at Wrexham's at 4.5 million quid per year. It says at Birmingham City's at 6.5. It says that that's accurate. You scroll down and it's got Mr. Stansfield on there. And so I'd assume that they've tried to figure it out. But I just put that up for comparison's sake. And that is sort of the window captures I wanted to show you. The season statistics, and you can see that both teams undefeated. We've obviously had one extra game. They started with a draw in Reading, and then they've been undefeated since then. But they've taken on arguably weaker competition with Wigan Athletic, Leyton Orient, and Wycombe. Obviously, we've had Wycombe, but you throw in Reading, Peterborough, and Bolton, Peterborough and Bolton most notably, away. And I'd suggest that Wrexham's had the tougher start. But as far as goals for, you can see those there. 11 goals for us, that's top in the league, to 8 for them. 2 goals against, that's second in the league for 5 for them. That ties them for 10th. The other one, I've goals home and away, that's obviously our away stats. We've got 2 goals for away, and we haven't allowed an away goal all year, knock on wood. For them, sitting at home, 3 goals at home, 2 away, and they've got their records there. Them 1-1, us 1-1, and away we go from there. As far as the season statistics overall, you're going to see the same thing that you're going to talk about all season long with where we give up a lot of possession, and they're happy to do it with their possession. They're the number 1 team in the league, 68.5% possession to us, 23rd in the league, only Shrewsbury behind us at 39.4%. But that you look at the goals per shots on target, we're at 46%, first overall. They're 30th. And the question is this magic by Wrexham? Are we going against the analytics? Is this going to come back and catch us and bite us in the butt? Time will only tell the answer to that question. Or are we just an efficient club that when we come downhill at you, we come down hard and we find a way to put the ball in the back of the net? I think that we've proven us in 5 games that that's where we're at, but it is a razor edge, and you fall off the wrong side and it can get ugly pretty quick. So hoping to continue the march. Where do these teams differ? They're happy with their possession. They're happy to kick it around with their center backs. They'll do a little bit better job than Peterborough statistically, so we can anticipate that they may find the back of the net in this one. For us, where are we? We have accurate crosses. We're comfortable in counter-attack, and it's going to be a fascinating game to watch, just statistic matchup. Where's the big difference between the teams? If you were to line things up, I would suggest obviously when they have Stansfield and Alfie May sitting up there, that Stansfield and Alfie May, they're going to stir the drink. They're going to pot some goals. They've got capacity. I would suggest their strikers are better. But as far as goalkeepers go, Ogonkwo, far better, I would suggest, than what they have in their lineup, and not a position that I think they significantly improved in. Scott Oldham going to be the referee. Man, do we have a history with that man, and not a good one. Going back to 2016, 2017, we have 1 win in 6 games. We've lost 2 against Tranmere. We were losing back in the National League with him. For whatever reason, Scott Oldham is just a bad draw. The only win coming back in January 1st of last year, it was a 4-1 win over Barrow in that one. We subsequently had him in March, and that was a loss to Tranmere in League 2. He's only had 1 game in League 1 so far this year, 2 goals in that one, and not calling a lot of fouls, which I actually like. This is going to be, again, a young club, a hungry club, but maybe not quite as perfected, but with lots of skill and talent. And I say young, that doesn't include obviously players like Alfie May. They have a veteran presence, but they're going to be out looking to pace and probably play a more technical game. For us, it's an away game. Drag him into the weeds. A physical, tough, grubby game would be fitting for us, and we may have the right draw here. I say that despite the fact we find a way to end up losing. Change it up and bring it back here so that we can talk about the players a little bit. Look, when they bring in this many players, usually it's just 1 or 2, and I can say, look at the superstar that they brought in. These guys have gone to town. $9 million to bring Stansfield in, 21-year-old from Fulham. And wait a second, let me just bring that up. There's Mr. Stansfield. Hasn't played with them yet. He will be in the lineup. I'm near certain of it. He has to be. He played in Birmingham City last year on loan. He's now been there full-time. He's filled in for the U21 side when Cole Palmer ended up being moved up to the men's team. He jumped in there, and so a young man who's signed an extended contract for Birmingham, he's hoping he's going to be the guy that's going to help to lead them to the championship, grow old with them as it were, and advance his way through. That's a massive signing compared to what anybody else in League One can put together. The other big additions to the club, that's Klar. He comes over from the Bundesliga where he was with Darmstadt. They were promoted, and he played with them in the Bundesliga, and then they were relegated. So he's come over, and he's going to sit there in one of their 2 center backs and do their thing. And the other one that they brought in was Willem Willemsen, who I've put the asterisk there, and if you see these on the cards, I'm to understand that they may have a bit of a knock and may not draw in. I listened to a podcast that said they think that he will be in the midfield, but we will see exactly where they go. Those are their 3 largest signings as far as transfer amounts go. But then you start to look at other players that they brought in through the window. I mean, Alfie May, What do you say about Alfie May? Last year's League One Player of the Year. He's got 4 goals in 4 games. He just finds the back of the net. Golden Boot last year, 23 goals. The biggest thing, you try to talk to people, you watch highlights, you look at what Alfie does. Dangerous on the counterattacks when he basically fills the space really well as to where people were as they were trying to advance the ball, and it's an easier return, and he's got space to be able to do what he needs to do. The other thing that he does remarkably well as I was watching is just the fundamentals. If you're a hockey fan, I'm going to mention young Logan Stankoven of the Dallas Stars. You watch and it's what every coach tells you to do, to open up to the net, and that's what he does, and it makes him able to score both feet with power from wherever he is on the pitch, and it looks so simplistic. But when you master it, it's what he does is he's technical, he's clinical, he's intelligent, and he finishes. He's a dangerous player, and just that odd ability to open up. Kristen Bialik, who's also going to be their other center back. He was with Birmingham. He's by all accounts an exceptional center back, and he's going to be filling in. And I have to talk about, anytime you get a Korean player and a Korean international, I'm going to be there. Paek Seung-ho. I prefer Baek as the romanization of the spelling, but Mr. Peck can decide how he wants to change Peck into the spelling. Grew up in Seoul, south of the Hangang and over towards the east. I lived there for a while, so I know Seoul fairly well. I was in Jeonju, and I didn't bring the picture up, and maybe I add it in post-production. I actually went to Jeonju where he played. He started with Barcelona. He then went to Girona as a youth, and then went to Darmstadt again when they were in League Two of the Bundesliga. Really didn't start very well as a young player, and he went back home, and he ended up playing for Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors, which is in Jeonju, and he was there for 3 years, and he really started to find his game. And as a byproduct of finding his game, he was brought back to Birmingham, Birmingham giving him a shot back at European football, pulling him out of Jeonju. I love Jeonju. I was there in 2005, probably the coolest football match I've ever been to. North Korea playing South Korea in an East Asian football championship match, reunification sort of battle. There was lots of good stories coming out of that one. It was the peaceful sport opportunity to try to bring the country together. He's a good player. Watched very limited of him with the Korean national team, largely because he's just sort of got back to them March of this year. I'll back the Paek Seung-ho not on Monday, but other than that, Hwaiting. And that's all I'll say about that. In goal, and this one's fascinating. Bailey Peacock Farrell, and it's between him and Ryan Alsop. I think most are thinking that Alsop has to get the start, and I probably agree that they're accurate. Let's go back to it for Peacock Farrell. He was with Leeds to start. He went to Burnley for a little bit of time, loans to Sheffield Wednesday and AGF in Denmark, and now with Birmingham. His save percentage, you look there, 61.5%, puts him well down in the save percentage numbers. And so it's a good thing that Birmingham can fill the net, because he tends to look like he might be letting some in more so than he should be compared to the XG and those sorts of numbers. Alsop, a little bit older, 32. 44 games with Cardiff 2 seasons ago. He was with Hull City, ends up in Birmingham. He's had lots of experience in the championship. The last 4 seasons in a row. He was with Wickham in the championship, Derby, Cardiff, and Hull City. Now he's with Birmingham City and looking to do his thing. Lots of history, and I would think that he's got to get the look here as the one big change, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of changes from a couple of weeks ago with respect to Birmingham City. What else can I say about this one? This is exactly why we're excited to be into League One, is these are the teams that you're going to end up facing. I'm looking forward to the challenge, and what I think is it's a good time to face them. You have a Birmingham City club that may not have gelled yet. They're still trying to figure out the relationship and what they're doing. They've got a rookie coach going through things, and their season could change significantly over the next 5-6 games. They're in a real run, starting with Wrexham, and they've got a chance to get it figured out, and I don't think that they necessarily have. The most wins haven't been the most impressive. The draw against Reading, kind of a slap, and now they're into the teeth of it. If things fall apart, there's going to be a lot of upset fans, and we'll see, is this automatic promotion and it's guaranteed, or is Birmingham City going to be that team that lets everybody down? And I would suggest that these next 5 games for them going to be massive in answering that question, and we'll see. Wrexham comes in a gelled club, and a club that's comfortable in what they bring, has a good relationship with everybody else. I don't think we're going to see any significant changes in the lineup. I mean, the question might be, does Mullen come in? Is Marriott going to stay? I think because of Mullen potentially injuring himself in the match against Salford City on Tuesday, we could continue to see Marriott. So what? I mean, that's sort of how it is as the next man up. We've got some depth this year. Rathbone showing that, coming and sliding in for Cannon. Evans being out and being covered. Dobson, player of the year so far for Wrexham. That time of the video where I end up trying to bring in a food product in the UK that I can compare with to this club. And I went to Birmingham and started to look at what are some of the local delicacies, what are the recipes, the old history of food, and something that fits for this club. And the only thing I can come up with, and I feel really bad talking about it, I'm going to say a word that I probably shouldn't say, but it fits as far as describing this food. Faggots and mash with pays. Faggots being a meatball type product created from offal. When I say offal, I don't mean bad. I mean like the internal organs of an animal. Usually a pig. You'll get different components of the pork, but largely the recipes I found, a lot more pork shoulder and pork belly than it is necessarily the internal organs. But compiling the entire component of the butchered animal into a meatball, adding rich gravy, adding mash, adding peas, sounds absolutely phenomenal. Like, my mouth is salivating at the concept because I enjoy offal. I think I do. It's delicious. There's good stuff there. And I'm going to call the Birmingham City's deconstructed faggots. And I say that because they've got the amazing components to put together an absolutely hearty meal that you would be searching down to look and find, or I would anyway, to get. But right now, they're just individual components. It hasn't been put together. And if it's put together, it's going to be dangerous. They're going to be weaponized, and they will feed the masses in Birmingham for seasons to come. We'll see if the gaffer can get them there or not. And therein lies the question. Will they become this scrumptious dish, or are they just destined to be awful? Score predictions. There's going to be goals in this one. You've got Alfie May, you've got Stansfield, you've got, I'm going to say, average to weaker goalkeeping for Birmingham City. That is their one area of weakness. We'll see how they end up going there. I'm going to go with 2-2, and if you would have told me before the 6 games that I was even considering a draw on an away day in Birmingham City, I would have said no way. But I haven't been entirely impressed with what Birmingham City has shown. Wrexham has been showing better than I anticipated, and so I think there's a real opportunity to end up taking points at St. Andrews, and that is crazy to think. In any event, watch party. We'll be here Saturday for Huddersfield and Bolton. We'll be here Monday afternoon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern, 8 p.m. for the nighttime start in the UK. Come and join us. We have a chat, 55 communities and growing. It's a blast going through and with the I follow problems. It's been nice to be able for other people to explain what the hell's going on when sometimes things get a little scrambly on our end. Hit the subscribe button, smash that like button. If you didn't do it now, do it now. Subscribe and like. And if you didn't do it after the 3rd time, try it now. Do it. Just hit that button before you wrap up. We'll be here for those. Hope you like this one. Let me know your thoughts. And hey, if you're from Birmingham and you thought this was just I'm not an American, Canadian, but if this was just some North American guy who was waxing poetic and knows absolutely nothing, or I made mistakes, come on, send me a message and we'll do a response. Did it with Bolton, you can find it. Didn't do it with Peterborough because I didn't want to. But I would love to have somebody come on and have a chat. So send me a message, follow me on Twitter so I can chat with you there, do whatever. And let's have it out and have a chat. I'm all for it. And if you want to join from Birmingham City and to the watch along, you're certainly welcome. Just please be polite. Anyway, Sean Driver, the Red Horde, we'll be here. We'll be around. Enjoy yourselves and we'll see you Saturday and Monday. Take care. Bye.